yesterday we discussed how living entities are wandering from different one planet to the other in different forms. From one bird to other we get different kind of bodies and go through different kind of upper, lower or middle planetary systems. But it is not possible to go to different planets or planetary systems by mechanical means. So there is a process which is given in the Bhagavad Gita. When we'll come across that particular verse where Krishna mentions that one who worships demigods will go to the planet of demigods, one who worships ghosts and spirits, they'll go to the planets of where the ghosts and spirits reside, and then those who worship me, they come to me. That means those who worship Krishna, they come to Krishna, the spiritual world, or the Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha planet, whatever. And now in the material world, wherever one may go, the highest loka, the highest planetary system is Brahma Loka, where Lord Brahma resides. And even there, these problems of birth, death, old age and disease exist. So it doesn't make any sense that if we take a lot of effort, austerity and so on and go to Swarga Loka or Brahma Loka, because still we'll be suffering from birth, death, old age, disease. So in the material world, there is no place where these problems are not there. So a wise person will try to go to a place where these basic problems of birth, death, old age and disease doesn't exist, and that is the spiritual world. Okay. Nisha Mataji, would you be able to read this portion, what I have highlighted? Okay, I'm sorry, was I audible all the while or not?
No, Mataji.
Oh, okay. Okay. The next paragraph. So I was just asking if Nisha Mataji, are you available to read this portion? You can put it in the chat box if you are not available, or else probably Aditi Mataji, you would like to try.
Yes, Mataji. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the real picture of the material world is given. It is said there, Urdhva Mulam Adha Sakham, Aswatham Prahur Avyam, Chandamamsi Yasya Parnani, Yas Tam Veda Saveda Vit. Here, the material world is described as a tree whose roots are upwards and branches are below. We have experience of a tree whose roots are upward. If one stands on the bank of a river or any reservoir of water, he can see that the trees reflected in the water are upside down. The branches go downward and the roots upward. Similarly, this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The material world is but a shadow of reality. In the shadow, there is no reality or substantiality. But from the shadow, we can understand that there are substances of reality. In the desert, there is no water, but the mirage suggests that there is such a thing as water. In the material world, there is no water, there is no happiness, but the real water of actual happiness is there in the spiritual world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji. So, it's a basic thing. If you feel thirsty, that means what? There is something called water to quench that thirst. Otherwise, we wouldn't be feeling thirsty. So, very nice example Prabhupada gives here. So, Prabhupada is first of all quoting from the 15th chapter, where the material world is described as an inverted banyan tree. So, where would we find an inverted tree? Tree is always upright, roots are downwards and the branches are upwards. But where would we find a tree which is reverse direction? Roots are upward and branches are down. So practically it's mentioned when we'll go to the 15th verse, we'll see there that if you stand at the in the near a beach or a sea or something, so the reflection of the trees will be in a if you remember in the science reflection, it will be like inverted. In the reflection we'll see that the branches are downwards and the root is upwards. So here the material world described as a tree whose roots are upwards and branches are below. So which means that the inverted tree is actually a reflection in the water. Similarly, in this material world, we are in a very in a shadow of the real spiritual world. Why? We'll see. The branches go downward. Okay, similarly this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The material world is but a shadow of reality. In the shadow there is no reality or substantiality, but when the but from the shadow we can understand but from the shadow we can understand that there are substance and reality. Now if I bring you a plate of prasadam, but I just I take a let's say I take a picture of the prasadam and I send it to you on WhatsApp. So you are just seeing an image of reflection. You cannot eat from it. You cannot take the prasadam. You cannot put it into your mouth. It's just a reflection. So you cannot actually have that prasadam, or in one sense, one cannot actually be happy in this material world because there is no happiness in the material world. Because this material world is a shadow of the spiritual world. So you need to uh, get a plate of prasadam, actually a plate of prasadam, and not just a reflection in order to have that prasadam. So Prabhupada gives the example of from the shadow we can understand that there are substances. Okay, in the desert there is no water. So this is another example. In the desert there is no water, but the mirage suggests that there is such a thing as water. Even why to speak about desert? If you are in a car, you are driving or something in the hot summer seasons, you'll see at a distance on the road, if it is dry and all, at a distance you will see there is something, water is flowing on the road or something, but as soon as you approach towards it, there's no water actually. So which shows that there is something called water. Again the example, if you feel thirsty, that means what? There is water to quench that thirst. So in the material world there is no water, that means there is no happiness, but the real water of actual happiness is there in the spiritual world. So actual happiness is there. Now somebody is studying very hard to get high grades or be the topper. Somebody is working very hard to get to earn money, or for maintaining family and all. So ultimately whatever one is doing, whatever austerity one is taking, it's just for happiness. Okay, if somebody is working, okay, I will bring some gift and someone do some function, some party, or have a big house or a car, so my friends, family and all will be happy, and so I will be also happy seeing them. So ultimately whatever we do, we eat. Why do we eat? So that I feel satisfied and full and happy. You see a gulab jamun, somebody likes sweet, feel very happy. So ultimately whatever we do is for to be happy, and that is natural state of the living entity, anandamayo vyasat. But whatever happiness we get in the material world is momentary. It's just for a moment. Now we are happy, next time something happens, and it's not permanent, it's temporary. But there is a place where we can be actually happy, um, and that is the spiritual world. Then okay, I'll come back to Nisha Mataji. Are you available to read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandapani.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Uh, the Lord suggests that we attain the spiritual world in the following manner. Nirman Moha Jita Sanga Dosha, Adhyatma Nitya Vinivarta Kama, Dvandvair Vimukta Sukha Dukha Samsnare, Gachanti Amutta Padam Avyayam Tattva. The Padam Avyayam or eternal kingdom can be reached by one who is Nirmama Moha. What does this mean? We are after destinations. Someone wants to become sir, someone wants to become lord, someone wants to become the president or a rich man or a king or something else. As long as we are attached to these designations, we are attached to the body because designations belong to the body, but we are not these bodies. And realizing this is the first stage in the spiritual realization. We are associated with the three modes of material nature, but we must become detached through devotional service to the Lord. If we are not attached to devotional service to the Lord, then we cannot become detached from the modes of material nature. Designations and attachments are due to our lust and desires, our wanting to Lord, it possibility, it over the material nature. As long as we do not give up this pro- propensity of lording it over material nature, there is no possibility of returning to the kingdom of the Supreme. The Sanatan Dharma, that eternal kingdom which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of false material enjoyments, who is situated in the service of the Supreme Lord. One so situated can easily approach that supreme abode. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So, now Prabhupada is quoting from the 5th verse from the same 15th chapter. Okay, Nirmanamoh Jitta Sangha Dosha Adhyatma Nitya Vinivrite Kama Dvandve Vimukta Sukha Dukkha Samge Gachanti Amuda Padam Avyayam Tat. So, Padam Avyayam. So, Prabhupada mentions the eternal kingdom can be reached by one who is Nirmana Moha. What is it? Now, in the present state, in our conditioned state, we are attached to our body, we are attached to our to everything related to this body, to my car, my home, my family, my job, my this and that. So I, me and mine becomes the center. So we want to be the controller, the master, the lord, lording it over mentality. We have this lording it over mentality. Means I want to be the master, I want to be the controller. Hmm? That kind of mentality. So someone wants to become president or rich man or king, something else. So as long we are, these are all designations. Why? And these designations are what? They are belonging to this body, because the soul's only designation is that okay, the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. But this material, now I'm a girl or a woman or a man or a child or Indian, these are all designations belonging to this body only, but we are not these bodies. And realizing this is the first stage in spiritual realization. We are associated with the three modes of material nature, but we must become detached through devotional service of the Lord. And it is not so easy to become detached unless we find, because our nature is to be attached to something. Or to have, we cannot be, it's not possible that okay, I shut you in a room and there's nothing in the room, there's no mobile also, and there's nothing, no one. So how long one can stay in that room alone? One cannot stay, because by nature the jivatma is active. So we want to have speak to someone, have relation with someone, make friends or something like that. But that's how we get attached in this material world. But we can become detached by becoming attached to something superior. And what is that superior thing? Devotional service. If we are not attached to devotional service to the Lord, then we cannot become detached from the modes of material nature. designations and attachments are due to our lust and desire, our wanting to lord it over material nature. So this is a root cause, that we are identifying ourselves. Okay, I'm this body. I am Indian. I am American. I am a student. I am a daughter of so and so, or I am husband of and so on. These are all designations. As long as we do not give up this propensity of lording it over matter, there is no possibility of returning to the kingdom of the Supreme, the Sanatan Dhamma. That eternal kingdom, which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of false material enjoyments. So, we have to become free from all these designations, not artificially, but actually. When okay, there was a very beautiful verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was just reading, came across it in the morning. This is when Raghunath Das, who later became Raghunath Das Goswami, who later became one of the 6 Goswamis. So I think Nityanand Prabhu was saying, so I'll not go what the scene was in detail, but it was mentioned in regards to Raghunath Das Goswami, that I just read that. Yes, this is so beautiful. One who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna does not value even the standard of happiness available in Brahmaloka, the topmost planet, and what to speak of heavenly happiness. So, one who is actually attached to devotional service, or one who is attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, uh, no, whatever material happiness, whatever one can be given an opportunity to go to Brahmaloka, to Swargaloka, have so much material enjoyment and all, but one will not be attracted, one will not be bothered by all these things, because devotional service is so high. There's nothing in comparison to that. Everything is like 10th class pleasure, as Gurudev mentions. So that eternal kingdom, which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of false material enjoyments. And practically, all the 6 Goswamis, they all were coming from very high family. Even here, it was another verse. It was mentioned that the parents of Raghunath Das Goswami were not wanting him to go, to go. They wanted him to stay at home and do business and whatever, like a householder. So he would try to go away and join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu completely, but he was brought back by his father's people and all. So one day, while discussing among themselves, the mother said to the mother of Raghunath Das Goswami said to his father that we have to bind him, and bind and keep him, something like that. So he mentioned that um, our son has so much opulence like that of Indra, but that, and such a beautiful wife and so on, but that couldn't bind him, so it is not possible to bind him. So practically, one who is actually attracted to the devotional service, or attached to devotional service, to the lotus feet of the Lord, it I mean, the material attractions and all will no more be bothering that devotee. Okay, so we'll read one more part. Kanchan Mataji, are you available to read this portion? Let me know. Okay, no problem. I'll read it. Elsewhere in the Gita 8.21 it is stated Avyaktashara iti uktastam ahur paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Avyakta means unmanifested. Not even all of the material world is manifested before us. That is practical. We cannot see everything in the material world. We do not know what is happening. I'm sitting in a room, so I do not know what is happening in the other room. We do not know what is happening on the road. So, what to speak about knowing about the whole material world? Mm, Scientists and all may guess XYZ things, but nobody can go and see and confirm it. It's not practical because our senses are so imperfect that we cannot even see all of the stars within this material universe. In the Vedic literature, we can receive much information about all the planets and we can believe it or not believe it. All of the important planets are described in the Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. And there is a portion also, there are a few chapters where the details of the creation of the material world, how these planetary systems are existing, how all these elements like earth, water, fire, ether, they came into being, everything is described. And the spiritual world, which is beyond this material sky, is described as avyakta or unmanifested. We cannot see it. The whole of material world, whatever is there, we are not aware of it. So it's it's obvious that we have no idea of the material world itself. How can we see or the spiritual world? So it presently in our conditioned state mainly it is unmanifested. One should desire and hanker after that supreme kingdom, for when one attains that kingdom, he doesn't have to return to this material world. This we were discussing yesterday also, that once one goes to the spiritual world, they will not have, they will not come back again, and that is Krishna's promise. And how we also had discussed about it with the example that once you have burnt your finger, you're not going to touch fire again. Similarly, we are all burning in this material world at present. So once we go back, then we will not make that silly mistake to come again to the material world. Okay. So there was details given about the spiritual kingdom. So next it is mentioned about how one can actually go to that spiritual abode or the abode of the Lord. But we'll continue it tomorrow. We'll stop here, and maybe if anybody has maybe everybody can share at least one point from what we discussed today, or if you have to add anything or any questions, then you can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I have one question to ask you. At which stage devotee masters his senses and mind?
Okay, actually there are okay, I'll tell it from two aspects. One is from the scriptures, like how we get to know, like even Bharat Maharaj, who was in the bhava stage. So there are 9 stages in devotional service, beginning with Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, like that, and topmost is Krishna Prema. When one attains to that Krishna Prema, then one is not bothered by, he is completely transcendental. His control, as you asked, control of the mind and senses, yes, he's not bothered by material modes and all. Now, Bharat Maharaj, who in a very young age, he was a king. At a very young age, he left his beautiful wife and children and palace and everything for self realization. But somehow he got attached to a baby deer, and because of that, he he was in the bhava stage, which is just prior to one step below Krishna Prem. But still he got attached to the baby deer, and finally he had to take a body of a deer in the next life. Hmm. So we can understand, one has to reach that topmost level of Krishna Prema practically for one to not be affected by the material modes, attachment, and all these things. Now, in our present state, what we can do, this was one part of the answer, and the other part is in our present state, what we can do so that we can control our mind and senses. First of all, we should be wanting to control our mind and senses, and next is engagement. We should have proper engagement, should give proper engagement to our senses, just like a small child. If the small child is just let loose like that, the small child will take a pen or a pencil and scribble on the walls and everything, or do something naughty things. But if the child is given, okay, you take this sheet of paper and do these crayons and do this drawing or something, or he's given something to eat, the child is what, busy doing his things. So the child is given proper engagement, he's not creating any disturbance anymore. The child is like, our mind is like that child. So if we give a proper engagement, if we are properly engaged in Krishna conscious activities, then we are fully absorbed in that. We are okay. If I'm cooking for, if one is cooking for Krishna, okay, I have to cook it so nicely that I can offer it to the Lord. It should be, to the best I can make. So I'm meditating like that. Then I don't have time or thing to for my mind to be deviated something in something else. So in our present state, the most important thing is that we have to engage our senses in Krishna conscious activities. So that is very important. That's how actually, um, because the senses, mind, everything is already involved in something. So they don't have any space to think about something, or and if we are engaged like this 24 hours, then there is no space for the mind to wander here and there. So it's just focused on Krishna. Did that help, Mataji?
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for your question. Okay. Others, Matajis, you can please add something, or Aditi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I don't have anything to add. I just, there's a point which I can repeat. That was that, we have a lot of lust and desires within us, and just by meditating, we might not be able to get rid of them. But the only way we can get rid of them and go back to Krishna is by engaging our mind and senses into his devotional services, because that is the higher taste. Currently we are just having the lower taste, and that's why we are not able to leave it. But if we have the taste of that higher taste, only then we can get rid of this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for that very nice point. Yes, practically, we have to come to that. You have to have that higher taste in order to give up that lower taste. Lower taste is sense gratification, higher taste is devotional service. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, Kanchan Machi, how can we develop more the attraction for the devotional services for the Lord too? Yes, yeah, the attraction for the Lord. Now, if somebody says, okay, Gurudev gives this example very often. If the husband says to the wife that I love you so much, and the wife says, okay, I'm little unwell, I'm little sick, can you please wash the dishes? The husband says, no, 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 you do it yourself. So what is the meaning of saying that I love you so much? Love means what? Service. So our love for Krishna, or our attraction, now you have some attraction, that's how one is, one can say that, okay, I love you or something. So our love for Krishna, our attraction for Krishna is manifested in the form of service. So, and specifically when it comes to the Lord, it is called devotional service, because with devotion we are doing to the Lord. So when we engage in service to the Lord, so that is same as devotional service. So how can we develop more attraction for devotional service? By associating with, there are different aspects we can understand. One is when we come when we read Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada is repeatedly mentioning one should engage in devotional service, and or when we are hearing from Prabhupada or from his disciples, or so on. So repeatedly we hear that okay, we should engage in devotional service. Then when we are chanting, what is the meaning of chanting? Chanting means what? Oh my dear Srimati Radharani and oh my dear Lord Krishna, please engage me in your pure devotional service. So we are asking for service. Now, so there are different aspects to it. One very important thing is association. If we associate, now we don't have attraction for the Lord. Practically, if we say we don't have love for the Lord, at least I do not. But when we associate with those who have, or we hear from those, or associate with those who have that love for the Lord, who have that attraction for the Lord, who are engaged in devotional service 24/7, then this COVID was so contagious. If somebody had COVID, somebody goes near to them also, they also get COVID. Devotional service is also equally contagious. So if somebody is a pure devotee, we take their association, then we will also begin developing those feelings of devotion. So association of pure devotees is important, very important, because they have that attraction for devotional service. They are they have that attitude, love for the Lord. So by associating with them, we hearing from them, we also you know become like that contagious thing gets into our heart too. So yes, did that help, Mataji? Yes, association is must. That's nice. Okay, Pramila Mataji, I know you are in office work. If you have anything, you can type it, or else probably we'll stop here. Okay, so I think Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Matajis, for joining. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.